Hey, all you people. Hey, all you people. Hey, all you people, won't you listen to me? Name the show. Welcome. I'm on week 6 of The Artist's Way. And this week I wanted to fight Julia Cameron. Let's get into it. Okay, so this week was called, the title of the chapter was Recovering a Sense of Abundance. And for somebody who literally has written multiple novels, her organizational, the writing organization is terrible. Like, the last 3 chapters I felt like have been about abundance, but also, I feel like she's all over the place. Like, she'll talk about abundance in, the last 3 chapters, but then name this chapter abundance. So, I don't know. Again, I would like to fight Julia Cameron. Physically. Not debate. Physically fight her. And there are many parts of this chapter that I would like to fight her in. Well, let's start off. We're gonna go a little wild organizationally because clearly she's not going by any structure. So at the end of the chapter, the last section, she's build yourself a budget. Go through and figure out what you're spending your money on, what you're spending your money on and you really shouldn't be. Where's the majority of your money going? And I gotta say, to her defense, I guess, this book was written in the 80s, so to a certain extent, they hadn't even hit the 2008 crash. So that section of the book was so fucking irrelevant in Trump's economy. I don't know. Complaints. So she had that whole section I thought was fucking stupid. I get it if you're somebody who has a lot of disposable income and none of that is going towards your art stuff, but I feel like I don't need to report to myself what I'm spending because I'm very conscious of what I'm spending all the time. And I think it just really speaks to the level of privilege Julia is coming from when writing this book. There's so much in this book that you need to just take with a grain of salt. So get that out of the way. We don't have to talk about it anymore. That's the main reason I want to fight Julia Cameron. Outside of that, I do think there was really valuable information in this section of the book. So I'm excited to talk to you guys about that. Okay. So with her relationship with abundance, I feel like she talked a lot about it in last chapter. So I feel like this is going to be kind of a quick chapter. And honestly, I didn't even really do the tasks this week again because I felt like they were just they weren't anything that I felt like would help improve my creativity or thought process or that kind of thing. And not saying that so other people at my work, great. It wasn't something that I felt like I needed to do. And she talked about that at the beginning of the book of just don't worry about doing every single task, just do the ones that are important to you. And so I did one of the tasks. Yeah, I did one and it was list your favorites because I love listing stuff. But her first one was a car and I was ugh, Julia Cameron, you are so patriarchal. So the first thing she talks about is just kind of examine your relationship with the universe and what you expect out of the universe. And one of those aspects is feeling like you have to be practical or you have to, and this kind of goes back to limiting yourself of you feel it's silly or foolish to believe in the universe like full-heartedly. And I think that's, especially as somebody coming from like, as a former Catholic who's no longer a Catholic, I'm wary of any type of like, you just gotta come in and believe wholeheartedly. And like, yes, there are things I believe wholeheartedly in, but I also have like solid evidence for that type of stuff. And I don't know. I guess I just definitely come from a place of like skepticism, of like blind faith. In my head, that means that like I see religion as a very like childish, silly thing. And at the end of the day, like I also see like my art as like part of my like quote unquote like religion. And you know, there's one, adults should be able to be silly and childless. They could be childless too, but childish. And obviously like healthy ways, like feeding your inner child and supporting and comforting them. But I don't think you should like create actions from the place of being childish. Not the point. But just basically that like, don't be scared of silly, childish, frivolous things. Like those are the things that like really fuel your art. Adults can be all of those things, and allow like your relationship with like the universe in that way to like fulfill that like grandiose like leap of faith, childish, playful type like relationship. Like it's okay to be that, and you know, if you have doubts because of that, but like understand that that's coming from a like, at least again for at least me, like I understand that that's coming from a place of like, you know, historically I have been, for a good reason, skeptical of like structured systems around like theory, and especially like skeptical of like all-powerful authority. And she suggested like doing your morning journal around that. Like, do you have proof of the type of source you believe in, or do you have proof of the type of source that you don't want to believe in? Or do you have proof of the type of source that you should believe in? And I think that was like, it was a really good journal prompt, because it was something where it was like, I've looked at very like specific aspects of my life and been like, man, source didn't help me, universe didn't help me. And I think too, like, just because I didn't get what I wanted doesn't mean the universe wasn't like supporting me or helping me. And also in the same vein too, when I tried to control or take over like for the universe and like force a job to happen or force like a relationship to happen or whatever, like it wasn't what I needed or wasn't what I wanted. So I think like Bob the Drag Queen said that like, if you're not where you want to be at the end, then it's not the end yet. And I think that's a really good mindset to have, of like, if you're patient, despite the process, you will find victory. And I don't know, I really love that. Bob the Drag Queen, please write your version of The Artist Way, because I'd rather read that. So I think that's a lot of like what she talked about in this chapter. Honestly, this might be a really fucking short video, because I feel like I just really encapsulated a lot there. So she kind of goes into like, never give yourself like rules or structures. And that's something too, like I've even gotten a lot of like synchronicity within like my social media and some other things, because I haven't like out loud, like verbally talked about this, but it's something like I read in the book and I've been thinking about and that kind of thing. Of just like, I will, and I've talked about this before, but this is like a fully other layer of like, not feeling like when I go to like, even like this video, like I will go and be like, I want to film a video, but I also want to do laundry and take out the trash and dance. And and like, you know, I would like force myself into like, okay, well, I'm going to do all these things and then I'll film. And when in reality, like I really just wanted to film, and I could film and then do all of those things. Like, it doesn't have to be structured of like, I have to do those chores and then I get to film, of like work reward type thing. Or even just in the sense of like, my process has to be this way of like letting go of like, I need to do this, this, and this before I can do this. Or I need to do, like, I want to do this, so I'll wait to do that at the end because that's the thing I want to do. And it'll motivate me to get through these things. And I think I had like a couple days last week where it was just like, I was real depressy. And luckily, Mike was amazing and like talked to me and like hung out with me while I was really depressing. But like I had like this internal interaction with myself of just like, one of the things like that really helps me when I am in those states is like getting up and like physically moving, like taking walks and exercising and dancing, and it just makes me a little more like present in my body, which makes me more present in like the physical world rather than like up in my head. And I was like, I should work out. I feel like it's gonna help me, but also like I have no like motivation or energy to do it. And a part of that was that I was like in my head of like, if I'm gonna work out, I need to do like abs and like legs before I get to the part that I actually want to do, which was just like dance. And I like need, like, to a certain extent, like if that's what I want to do, like just get up and do that. That's better than doing nothing, of like sitting there like either I'm gonna do it all or nothing. And so just getting up, and like one day I did like a little ab thing. Like I just did like a very small like ab workout at the end of the day. And it made me feel so much better. I felt like I accomplished something that day. But yeah, so don't try to control the process. Like don't over control the process, or like force yourself into a specific process. I think, and again, I feel like this is something she's talked about before, but it's like another layer of that, of just like you don't have to be, even with your process, you don't have to be sensible or practical or like functional to a certain extent. Like, yes, I need a storyboard before I film, but you know, maybe I storyboard after I like write down a journal page of like the character, or maybe I storyboard after I like outline the script and the points I want to like really make the points I really want to emphasize, or the details I want to like bring out in the script. And like if that's the part that I like the part that I'm excited about is not necessarily like the storyboarding, it's like bringing out elements of the movie. And so like I'm doing that to keep in mind and to get it down on page and to get my creativity out. And then my brain's, it's kind of like, again, going back to the morning pages and journaling, just basic journaling. It's kind of just getting like even within your creativity, like sometimes it's important to just like get your like urges or like mind dump just on page, and then you can get to the stuff that like is more practical or takes more like piecing together, that type of thing. So I think within that, just be careful that you're not giving yourself extra rules or shoulds. Like anytime you do that, like really check in with yourself and being like, is this a fact? Like, do I have to storyboard before I film? Yes, but I don't have to just get something down on the storyboard and then like analyze the film. Like, it's better to analyze the film and then do your storyboard. Or if I need to take a break, if I'm like, don't like struggling to like stay with the storyboarding process, then, you know, I take a break and I work on like another element of the movie. Or like, you know, like the other day, like I was like, I want to work on the movie, but I was like, I don't want to storyboard. So I worked on like my makeup and what, it was a short movie, I'm not doing like a full thing, but I want to work on my makeup. And so I took like an hour to like practice makeup, the makeup look I wanted for the short. And I don't know. I think just being like more flexible with myself, and too, like I, at the end of the day, like I want my process to be the reward and not the end result to be the reward. And I think that was a really good way to like find my reward or happiness within the process of like the things I'm really excited about doing or I want to do, like do them, and then fill in other times, like the time around that, with the things that like I kind of have to do or I need to do to like make things happen. So again, abundance is filling your cup so you can act from like being content and like rewarding yourself first, so then you're in a space where you can reward or like support other people, if that makes sense. I don't know, I feel like reward is a bad word, just because like I feel like, to me, like sometimes when I use the word reward, it means that I have to like do something for that, or I have to earn that reward. And then you get into weird places of like, oh, well, I want to take a nap. Well, to earn that nap, because it's a quote unquote reward, I have to do like this amount of work, or I have to do these things. And again, I think that's something where it's like, just fill your cup. If you need a nap, go take a nap, do your 20 minutes, and then you come back to the process and you just jump back in. Like, it'll be there waiting for you when you get back. It's not like gonna go anywhere or do any, like, you're not gonna like lose all motivation or lose all inspiration or ideas if you like go take a break. Like, again, if you need to do like a little mind bump, if you need to do a little mind dump and just get like your thoughts on page and then go take a nap, fucking do that. Just look for any areas you could set yourself up for success in. If I take this nap, will I be successful? It depends on how I do it. Can I do it in a way that will help me be more successful? Exactly. Do it that way. And then something she also talks about that I really liked was like within like filling your cup, like don't be afraid to like accept luxury or like give yourself luxury. And she does make a point of saying like, this doesn't mean like going out and like buying fancy cars or houses or vacations or etc. It's more about just like finding ways to like please or nurture your inner child, like throughout your process or like throughout like your creativity. When you deny yourself luxury or like that time or flexibility, that's when you hit burnout. And I 100% have been like, I think it's been a really long phase of me like trying to get out of the burnout. But I think like 21 was when my burnout like really peaked. And so like the last like 3 years genuinely have been like working through like burnout and creative block and that type of stuff. And a lot of that came from like I was denying myself my luxury of like self-care and time for play and time for experiment, because I took my like full-time graphic design job, and because I was like so creatively drained and emotionally tired, like I just did not have the energy or space to do like creative stuff outside of that job. And so I was only doing creative work for the company that I was working for, which was very like rigid and structured and had like a very like specific purpose that was like, especially a purpose that like I didn't really believe in because I don't like capitalism. So I think something that she talks about within like the burnout discussion is even if it's just like little choices here and there, like give, or little like pieces here and there, like give yourself that self-care, even if it's like 15 minutes of morning journaling instead of, 3 whole pages, because I can't do 3 pages in 15 minutes. Or giving yourself the choice of like, okay, what are the elements I want to use in this piece? Or I'm going to get this piece done and just do it the way I need to do it. And then I'm going to have time to like do free drawing or free creative time. So really making sure like you have choices and you're giving yourself choices. You're not like forcing yourself into a specific process or a specific like path because like that's what you feel like you need to do, or that's what people are telling you to do. Really making sure like checking in with yourself and being like, is this a choice I'm making, or is this something I feel like I have to do or feel like I should do? Yes. So, okay, I think my final thought on this chapter is I have also read The Creative Act, Rick Rubin's Creative Act, and it was really interesting. I kind of had a moment where it's like, is the artist way really worth my time? Like, is this helping me the way I want it to help me? Like, is it worth like finishing the book? And the answer is yes. Even though I've done a whole lot of complaining. The answer is yes. I do think, more than anything, just for myself, so I could be like, okay, I have a process, I have something to go back to, I have something, like, I've tried this, I've given it a whirl. If it doesn't work for me, or, like, I could take what works for me and leave what doesn't. In my personal opinion, I think I like the philosophy around creativity more in The Creative Act by Rick Rubin. I think part of it is he's just like created it. He's like written that book like in a more modern age. So I think it just like applies a lot more. And I think he's also like, he has the experience of like working with like musicians, and that's like a lot quicker turnaround. So I think he just has the experience of working like under more like capitalistic structures of like quicker turnarounds, like fast time, like schedules, and working like big names who have like crazy amount of things they have to do and ways to promote and things like that. So I feel like I like the philosophy of creativity better in The Creative Act. However, and this is not my statement, I watched a Chappell Roan interview recently where she talked about how she read The Creative Act, and I 100% agree with her. This is a book on how to protect your creativity. And I think that's like why I have felt like so much of this book has come from like deconstructing rather than building is because it's more about like protection rather than like the creative act is going to give you like a philosophy on like how to think about your creativity, how to interact with your creativity. And this is more about like protecting your creativity, which I think is important. Especially if you're going to be in those spaces like Rick Rubin's spaces where, and I'm sure like a lot of his like writing that book in that way was to like avoid like overlapping with this book. Because I was looking at it and, another book I read was called Big Magic, and Elizabeth Gilbert did a review on the back of Artist's Way. And Big Magic is very similar to Artist's Way, if we're going to be honest. So I do kind of appreciate that like Rick Rubin took like a very different approach, but I think like those two books, like if you want like the perfect like reset, just total like upheaval of your creativity and bring in new creativity, I would pair these books together and do this one first because it's a good like lesson on like how to protect your creativity, and then do the creative act next, and that will tell you like what your creativity should be, how how to interact with your creativity, that type of thing. So I don't know, that was like an interesting thing because I literally had that thought earlier that day where I was like, is the Artist's Way worth my time? Is it worth like finishing the rest of the chapters? And Chapel answered, let's talk about synchronicities if we want to talk about synchronicities in this book, which I feel like I have been getting a lot. Earlier that day I was like, I don't know if I should continue with this, and then Chaperone was like, I read The Artist's Way and it's really helped me protect my creativity, especially like hitting this level of fame and like the way it's happened for her. And not that like I'm like that's gonna happen to me or anything, but just like more the idea of like she's on such, she has to be so protective with her creativity of like, and especially too, she talked about like releasing demos and how that like works with her creativity and how that like changes her perspectives on songs and stuff like that. And I don't know, it was really interesting. I'm glad she said it. I'm glad it was like helpful for me because I was like, okay, it really is worth it. This is another opportunity that the universe is presenting to me to like be the person I want, be the creative I want. And if I don't take this opportunity, that's like refusing the universe, like refusing one of the gifts that the universe has given me. So I don't know, something to think about. That's it for me. I think that's it. Yeah. Thank y'all for coming. Glad we could have this little chat. I hope you have a good rest of your day. Enjoy your Artist's Way. Enjoy your creativity. Enjoy the people around you. And have a great day. Oh, like and subscribe, please. Check out my other videos on Artist's Way on my channel. That's about it.